Hello and welcome to the first episode of our podcast, which is called Heartstreams, a podcast, wherein we will talk about conversations straight from the heart and matters of the heart. So this is me, Alvi,
Hello.
and yes, hello,
Hello,
Ange.
this is Angelo. Hello,
Yes,
Alvi.
hello. And today we will somehow introduce to you our project, right, Ange?
Right, definitely. So, the main objective of this first episode, this is just us testing it out because since this is our first episode, we are still trying things out and see how it goes. So, for our first episode, we are going to talk about the passion that we pursue amidst our day jobs. So,
Yes.
basically, if you guys have any like comments or any suggestions or any feedback about the topics that we are going to discuss in our future episodes, feel free to reach out to us, send us an email. We will put our username and all our social media handles in the description uh, of our episode. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll definitely welcome you all.
Yes, and you can follow our social media accounts. We have our Twitter and our Instagram page as well. And please do not forget to subscribe to our
Subscribe
podcast
to our
here in
channel.
YouTube channel. So thank you for that. So yes, we will go straight to our first discussion. Our first episode will be talking about making space for creative pursuits. So this is
Oh,
a
this is so
relevant,
exciting.
yes, this is a relevant discussion for us because our podcast is actually a product of our interests, right? And we actually have day jobs, but other
Right.
than that, we also
Mhm.
pursue passion projects or creative pursuits on the side. So let's start with you,
Definitely.
Ange. What's your day job and what are your side passions that you spend time for?
Yeah. So I am a I like to consider myself as a writer. That's a passion that I pursue. But on my
Mm-hmm.
day job, I work as a podcast research assistant and also a content creator. So I have two jobs. Basically, they're what sustains me right now because as an adult, I help my family pay the bills, and I also
Yes.
enroll myself in graduate school. So I might be returning this school year to finish my master's. And yeah, these day jobs are like important to me because as what I mentioned earlier, they help me sustain, they help me pay the bills, and they also help me save up for my future. And aside from that, though, I pursue writing as my passion because I've always loved to write. I started writing seriously when I was 18, and it's a funny thing because it's a very coincidental circumstance because Alvi and I met way back in college, and she's one of the first people who really inspired me to write seriously because way back when before 18 I started to love uh, reading books even when I was a child. I was 11 when I first read the first novel that I read on my own. It was The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Water by C.S. Lewis. And since then, I've been reading a lot of books, consuming books. I'm learning about the concepts, the themes of the novels, and not just novels, but any kinds of books that I can like read before. And uh, like an idea occurred to me that why not I can make use of this passion, of this interest in making something up like writing. So that's how I started getting interested with writing. In college, I started to experiment on the. I first started writing short stories, and then they became essays, and then articles. And yeah, I had a like years of stint as a freelance journalist after I graduated college. And right now, I'm still on that path, but I'm mainly into creative writing right now. So on the sideline, I make time after my day job. I make time to write at least an hour a day, and not really putting pressure too much on myself. But I've been sending out to a lot of literary journals as well. So some of my short stories get accepted, some of them get rejected. But it's part of the creative process. How about you, Alvi? Let me ask you, since you have also released your most recent project, and it's a very beautiful one because it's a Zine, right? And it's your fourth one. So can you tell us more about it and also your day job and the passion that you pursue
Oh,
connected with your yeah project?
thanks, Ange. So, yes, really, your day job is actually somehow different, the same, right, with your passion,
Right.
but they're totally different things at the end of the day. As for me, I work in a school and I teach part time. Basically, I work in the psychology field, so it's a helping profession and it's entirely
Wow.
different from my creative pursuit, which is also writing. Which, thanks to books and writing, we actually met and became good friends because of
Yeah,
that.
that's so nice.
Yes,
And we're still friends right now after
yes.
many years.
This is our project as a birth of that friendship. And
Definitely.
yeah. As for my project, I just recently released a Zine, which is my fourth um self project or expression. I like to
Beautiful.
do these things from time to time to break free from the routine that I experience from my daily life. It's a busy life that I lead, but I try to make room to pursue some things that I'm interested at, things that I actually like to do. And
Mhm.
this is far from my work. It's not spreadsheets, not data, but writing really is a way for me to cope and express myself. Yeah. Thank
Right.
you.
And yeah, since we're both writers, Alvi, we
Yes.
have that in common. Like we love words, we love to write poems. You write excellent poems. I've seen people like commenting and posting your poems on Instagram. I follow you on Instagram, and yeah, I
Oh,
read a
thank
few of your
you.
work. Like not a few of your works. I read a lot of your works, and they're definitely. I can say that it really resonates well with especially for those of us here who tend to, fall in love and then fall out of love. Those are the types of poems that Alvi writes beautifully, and it's really amazing because you really capture that emotion.
Oh, thank you. And yes, I actually write personal things that are of my experiences and are of others. Um, yeah, making
Right.
space for the things that you're interested at. It's not just writing, and for the many others out there who are listening to us, maybe you're interested in music, in
Hmm.
baking, in designing, in drawing or painting.
Definitely. Hmm.
Yes, you have the opportunity to actually make time for them and not just be focusing much on work because we also have to
Hmm.
play, right? No, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Hmm.
We've learned that 1,000 times already, right?
Right. And
Yes.
also the challenge here though is that um, there are also people whose like creative passion or like their work is already or let's say their creative passion is already integrated in their work, right? And for many for those who like pursue like especially freelance digital artists, they also create beautiful visual art, and then at the end of the day, like even if that's like their day job, they provide visual art or like posters for their clients, for their boss or for their company, and then they have their own personal projects. And I think that it's really good that we balance these things out, because at the end of the day, it's really about expressing ourselves. Like art is meant to express ourselves and to learn from the experience and to grow as a person. And I think that I am in the position to believe that every one of us is really has the potential to become creative. And yeah, so that's what I think. So let me ask you, Alvi, what do you particularly like about your side passion? Since you are involved in school, you work as a like
Mm-hmm.
you are a you are a licensed psychometrician, and then
Yes.
you work as a like you guide students to go through college life, and basically that's how you do your day job. I might be wrong though, because I don't really know the nitty gritty details of your job, but I believe that you're doing a lot of things, and it's amazing because you excel in both fields. So can you tell me more about what really makes makes you continue and pursue your passion despite the rigors or the busyness of your day job.
Thank you, Ange. Yes, you got that right. I'm guiding students, but it's just the small part of my actual day job. I process data, I check tests, since that's what I basically do most of the time. But
Mhm.
what I really like most about my creative passion is that it is far from my actual work, which is routine and data and stuff like that, right? Sometimes it makes you stress when you look at numbers from for a week or months on end, and you're just processing data for God knows how long. So what I like most about it is that it's different. It's a far cry from my actual work. And second is that it's the thing most that is second nature to me, I think. Writing is a way for me to express, like what I said earlier, and in writing I can fully be myself, and there are certain interests or things that bring out the best in you, and writing for me is that it brings out the best in me. I think
Right.
for you too as well, right? Mhm.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I work as like a podcast research assistant and also a content creator. So both of these jobs require um, a different kind of creativity from
Yes.
what I pursue in my personal passion, which is writing. So what I do usually is that I pitch ideas to my boss. I help my boss, find guests to interview, and then make research, make background checks, check the qualification and credibilities, and also provide documents so that my boss can look at them before he conducts the interview. So that's for my podcast research assistant role. And then for my like content creation role, I also pitch ideas about which content or which content that my boss that my other boss can use to like leverage his like business online. So it's basically that. So like it's a constant struggle. Like I wouldn't say it's entirely a struggle because there are fun times that I also get to experience along the way. But then there's I think the experience of handling both is that we get to learn much from them,
Mhm.
much from these jobs and our passion. And I think that learning is constant. So even though we have bad days where we tend to experience creative droughts, and there are times when there are many times actually when I just sit down in front of the computer and just like see the a blank uh, page trying to like tell me what do you want to write, Angelo? What do you want to write today? Like how is the story going? And then there are days when some of my stories don't go the way I planned them to, because sometimes I outline, sometimes I just write out of just in the moment. And then there are days where we tend to struggle with our creativity, but
Mhm.
then there are also days when we get to be inspired. But amidst all these different, like amidst being like, even though we get to experience difficulties and be inspired at the same time, or experience creative process in our uh, experience a beautiful creative process in our work. um I think that I like to believe that like learning is really there for us to help us grow. And if we just like pursue both, then there's always room for that growth.
Mm. You mentioned earlier about the nature of your day job, and I can sense that it's a
Yeah.
very demanding environment
Oh,
for all of us,
oh
I
my
guess.
gosh, yes.
How do you, if you experience some
Yeah.
sort of difficulty, how do you actually handle when both worlds collide, your day job and then wanting to pursue this creative passion of yours?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes I just, take a break. I think that because, creativity requires a lot of mental strength. I think
Yes, I
that's
agree.
something that, yeah, I think like we both experience that as well. So, yeah, taking a break is good because when we take breaks, we tend to like feel rested, and then although we don't have to like really take long breaks, but like a short 15-minute coffee break will do, or like just like what I usually do on breaks is that I sometimes just listen to music, or I just go away from my laptop for a while and take a stroll in our house, like usually in our living room, just take a like 10-minute stroll, or like a 10-minute like listening to music. And then yeah, like just time to de-stress. And then if have like difficulties on both like on my creative passion and my day job, yeah, taking a break is definitely good for me to like help me regain my momentum if I like when once I go back to these priorities. And it's always good to look after ourselves, because these days there's been a lot of um like awareness about the like mental health and creativity. It's not let's not deny that mental health is really part of the creative process. So one of the ways that we can help like overcome these difficulties is to like take care of ourselves first. So taking a break is also productive in a way. So how about you, Alvi? What do you do when these difficult situations, block you from doing what you love best in terms of like your creative passion and your job as well?
Yes, you actually have a point about taking breaks. I think breaks are the most important parts of our lives, which I
Mhm.
think I have yet to learn fully, because we're told
Me too.
many times over and over again that we feel that we're not worthy of rest. That's actually the opposite
Mhm,
thing. We actually need it the most. It's also a way for
mhm,
us to be productive. Like
mhm.
you, I also experienced difficulties along the way, especially with time. Time has always been the
Yeah.
hardest to handle, because
Mhm,
we spend most of our days working, and then what about the time that's left for the things that we want to do? So the time has always been the main issue for me, I guess. But the way that I
mhm.
handle it is still time is it's to make time for it. um our passions, our
Right.
creative pursuits are a way for us to actually um, be the best persons you want to be, and it's the time where we
Yeah.
feel most comfortable. So the way that I handle
Right.
it, I take breaks as usual, as you have said, and also to really make
Mhm,
time for it. I think the motivation is also very important there. If you want to pursue it, if it's something that you like, you really have
mhm.
to make time for it, like you would with a friend, right? If you want to spend time with
Right.
this person or this friend, or a colleague or a family member, you make
Mhm.
time for them because you care for them and you want to nurture them. Yeah. So that's for me, I guess.
Right. And you raise a really good point for that. Like making time, pursuing what we love. Like even if it's like a personal project, or it doesn't really necessarily have to have a deadline, because once we pursue our passion, it involves ourselves,
Mm-mm.
making a better version of ourselves through our art, through what we create, and through our craft. And yeah, I think I would like to add though that we don't have to like really put much stress in the creative process, in the creative journey, because um, we can make time to pursue what we love to do, but we don't have to like be as stressful in doing it as we often experience when we do our jobs, because it's common that most of us, especially people our age, like around like 20s, and like even millennials and millennials are the ones that are like populating the workforce these days. But stress is really part of life. I'm not saying that it should be, but there are days when we tend to experience it without us craving for it. Like, who craves stress, right? Like they just happen because sometimes tasks get a bit too heavy for us to do, and then there are a lot of like priorities that we need to consider and we need to fulfill. But at the end of the day, like we can make our creative like time, or like the time we make for our personal projects not really as stressful as what we experience during our day job. We can just create like things that make us happy, make us inspired, make us feel joy again. So we in a way we do things that excite us and
Yes.
which we can enjoy doing. So yeah, that's one thing.
Yes, the thing about us millennials or Gen Zs or the younger generation is that we tend to really are motivated by perfection or dictated by perfection. If you want to
Right.
pursue the things that you're
Mhm.
interested at or the things that you like to do, you don't have to be perfect at all. You don't have to
Mhm.
fully master everything. It's the joy that lies in doing it is more than enough, and you don't really need to be the
Yes.
most having the most beautiful output or project,
Right.
right? If it makes you happy, then go and do it and
Mhm.
just do you guys.
Right.
So
And it's
our
really good
creative,
because
yeah,
yeah.
our creative
Yeah, go on,
pursuits
sorry, Alvi.
our creative pursuits teach us a lot. I'd like to ask you, what does it teach you at the end of the day? Are there any lessons that you've learned when you pursue the things that you love?
I think that if there's one lesson that we learn is that we like in my case, I would have to say, well, that's a tough question actually, but I think I would have to say not taking for granted the gift that God has given us. I mean, like I'm speaking about it from a like believer point of view, but I believe most of us also tend to like recognize that we have talents and making use of those talents is one
Yeah,
way to help us make yeah to make us feel human, I guess. Like whenever you like whenever you finish a beautiful piece, like whether it's a painting, whether it's like for bakers or for baristas, you can like create a beautiful or like the strongest or like the most effective like brewed coffee that you can like create for bakers, like probably the most cute the most adorable cake that you can design, or for like visual artists, the most captivating posters that you can create. Once you have finished that, I think there's always a sense of fulfillment in doing it. So in a way, I also experience that whenever I finish writing the draft or the revised version of my stories. I think, and with that feeling comes the sense of fulfillment, and then the sense of knowing that you have done something beautiful out of the talent that God has given you. So I think if there's one lesson or if there's one teaching, like one learning experience rather, that I can gain from pursuing like my creativity and doing something with it, is that I recognize uh, the gift that God has given. I believe other people have their own experience as well, and but in my case, in my personal experience, that's how I feel. How about you, Alvi? What do you think is the best teaching experience or learning experience that you have gained while doing your creative passion, or while pursuing your creative
yeah,
passion?
I agree about us having the talents and the skill. And what I learned most about pursuing my creative passions, my pursuits, is that at the end of the day, there are things that we can still do that we love, and we have the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
pursue them. And yes, we have the talents, the skills. We are given each of us abilities to do things, right? We have the gift, all of us.
Right.
And I agree that it gives us a sense of fulfillment. As for me, the writings that I do and the projects that I make give me a sense of fulfillment that I can actually do this. There is something that I'm good at. And that when people resonate well with
Right.
the work that I do, whether it's really tiny or I think it's not seemingly significant, but when they express that they actually learned a lot from me as well, I think that's the biggest gratitude that I could thank for doing the things that I yeah.
Yeah. And for our fellow creatives out there, whether you're doing a lot of things in your life, always know, and I think all of us also need to hear this, that um, you may not like the product, the result of your work. But once you get to share it with others, people may start, liking it. I mean, like going back to what you mentioned earlier about perfection, Alvi, I do agree with what you said, and I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
add though that perfection is a bit subjective because no one can really define perfection unless it's numbers, right? Unless we tend to measure it based on test scores. But then again, creativity goes beyond test scores, or grades, or any kind of like numbers. Like creativity is more of like the product of creativity, like a piece of art is more perspective based rather and insight based rather than measuring it by numbers. So perfection is in a way, for lack of a better term, I guess I would say it would be superficial when it comes to judging an artwork because people can see it in a different perspective. Like for example, if one like makes a painting, I think Van Gogh would be a perfect example for this. Like I'm saying a perfect example. I'm using the term perfect right now. It's kind of ironic, but I would say that he's the ideal example for this because when Van Gogh started painting, and then he during his time when he was still alive, he painted around thousands of paintings and not including his sketches. And then people didn't really recognize him during his time. But then years after, it was a tragic experience for him because he died years before his work was actually recognized and being sold to museums, to galleries, and being celebrated. And it's really it's really amazing because it took another generation to really appreciate his artwork. And I'm not hoping that all of us will experience that type of experience, that type of how Van Gogh lived his life. But let's just keep creating, keep doing what we love to do, and just get there, just finish our art so that we may not like it now, and we may think that people may not like it, but once we tend to like finish it and then share it to the people we care, and then once they appreciate it, then that's our reassurance that our work is like valid or our output is valid. But at the end of the day, it's really the fulfillment of creativity that matters. It's not about how the output will turn out, but or the piece of art will look like, but it's really maintaining that passion. So yeah, that's just one addition that I would like to say about the perfection thing.
Yeah, thank you for that good advice. It's a beautiful set of advice. I agree with you. And yes, you don't have to be perfect at all in everything. Might I just add that as a
Yeah,
closing advice to our listeners, for those of you who juggle your day jobs and your side passions, I know so many people out there. I have a couple of friends who are actually enjoying both best of both worlds. And the best advice that I could give is to not give up both. It's equally important. You don't need to give up one for the other. For you to fully be a creative person, you can have both. Actually, I read a few weeks ago that the creators of Trece are actually uh, Trece is a project that they made apart from their
nice.
day jobs. So while they were working at night, they would be working on Trece. So yeah, they are the perfect example for that. You can have both. You can work while wanting to do other things as well, having interest. And yes,
Right,
you just do what you love to do. I think that's the highlight of my advice to the listeners out there as well as Angela, right? So do what you love to make room for it
right,
because we're all humans and we all want to express and being onto something, and those are the things that we love to do. Whether you're dancing or singing or making resin
definitely.
projects with dried flowers, you can do whatever you want and do the things that your heart desires, right?
Right, Alvi. You meant I remember you recommended to me a book before. I think it was by Elizabeth Gilbert. Can you
Yeah.
share a bit about your reading experience about that, and because your advice also like resonates with the advice that she gives to creative people. So can you share about that particular book, and how did you find it?
Yes, Big Magic was the book by Elizabeth Gilbert. It was the book that was mostly highlighted and tabbed on because I loved it so much. And actually, it was her advice that I really loved going back to. It's doing the things that you love. You don't have to be perfect at everything, but because you love this thing, you want to pursue
Hmm.
it every day. She wrote there in the book that there was this skater, a mother who wants to skate, and at 4 a.m. she spends time skating in the rink just because she feels fulfilled and she feels a whole lot better when
Hmm.
she does it. And the reading experience for it was just wonderful. You learn a lot of things, and I highly recommend to everyone who wants to read that book. It's a wonderful book. You will learn a lot from that.
I read it 2 years ago, and it was a very good read because I learned a lot from it, especially when she gave us advice about like muting our fear and our
Mhm.
self-doubt whenever we pursue our creative passion. And I think it applies to what we're doing now, I guess, Alvi, because aside
Yes,
from our day job, we're also like producing this podcast. And yeah, this is a passion project. So it's not yet, like, I should say, like perfect in a way, but it is something, and it's promising for both of us, because both Alvi and I are excited doing this, and yet we're looking forward to really, discuss more topics, and to um, like give advice, and to listen to the feedback and comments from our listeners. So if you want us to talk about something, or if you have any feedback, don't hesitate to like reach out to us on our social media handles, and leave us a comment, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel.
yes. As I've said earlier, this project is our way of um, expressing ourselves on a different platform, which we usually do through writing, but we're exploring somehow, and we love it. We like to do it. And if there are things that you're hesitant about starting a project or an artistic object, whatever that is, maybe now is the time for you to begin doing that. Make time for it.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully, we can get you inspired in the next episodes that we will have in our
Yeah.
podcast. So please write your comments or suggestions if you have. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. So this is us. This is Angelo, and
Hi, this is Alvi. Thank you so much for listening to us.
listening. And have a great day,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank you and see you soon, guys.